Welcome to Finding Your Higher Consciousness. I'm your host, Coach Cary. And today we have Jake Agnew. He is an author, he's a poet. He helps people better their lives through him showing up and being his true, authentic self. So, Jake, welcome to the podcast. This is my 5th episode. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure. There's certainly nowhere else I'd rather be right now.
That's awesome, bro. No, thank you for taking the time. You've helped me in my life, and I know that people are going to find a lot of value in this podcast. So let's start with, where are you from? Where did you grow up? What were you like as a kid?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town in Massachusetts called Northborough. We used to call it North Boring because there was not a whole lot going on. I think there still probably isn't a whole lot going on, but yeah, it was a nice little town. You know, kids would meet up on the corner on their bikes, just hang out. But yeah, I loved fishing. I loved playing guitar. I loved just being outside, really, just kind of wandering and wondering, just kind of just following my curiosity and wherever it brought me. I wasn't I wasn't such a academic, as we could say, but yeah, I was just always finding different ways which I could explore my curiosity, my imagination. But yeah, really was mostly just spent outside, outdoors.
What's one of your most cherished memories from before you were a teenager? Like between like 8 and 12 or something. I mean, there's no range, but could you pull up something for us, something that you cherish from when you were a youngster?
Absolutely, yeah. So again, talking about fishing, I used to love going fishing with my father, and we would go with him and his best friend Andy quite often. My father's name is Tim, and for me, a memory I cherished was catching my at the time record largemouth bass. We went to this pond and did some fishing, and just a beautiful moment. To, of course, no one's having success all day. The two grown men that I'm with don't even get a nibble, and here I am. I don't know, maybe 8 years old at the time, something like that, and I pulled what was a 3.5 pound largemouth bass, and just the shock on their faces, the joy, but also a little underlying jealousy as I could see. That was just so much fun. But that was really how I was. I had a lot of friends my age, but I really liked to hang out with the older crowd, even if they were adults. I always found myself hanging around with the older crowd. So that was a really special time for me to be able to share that with my dad and his friend.
That really leads into consciousness. And I want you to explain to us what consciousness is in a way that maybe someone that's on the fence about what it means is, so that they can understand it. And then also, I was the same way when I was younger. I always like to be around older people and listen. And I think that's because, as you'll probably explain in this next part, is that consciousness is something that comes to us. It's not something that we really develop as adults or as we go through our life. At least in my opinion, it's something that comes from somewhere else that's put into our bodies. So could you expand on that a little bit and educate me?
Yeah, absolutely. As I see it, consciousness isn't even something we have as much as it's what we are, right? And it's not to say that like I am a physical body that has consciousness or that is conscious. It's consciousness is the actual interwoven fabric that is creating this entire universe, right? And so the way that I really like to kind of keep it simple and get people thinking about it is I say, if your perception, if your experience of consciousness were to just cease to be at the snap of a finger, can you prove that any of this would even still be here? And oftentimes the question is no, right? Because there really isn't any evidence that if my perception here were to just stop being all of a sudden, no apparent reason, I can't prove that any of this would even still be here, right? And so that alone reveals to me that this all truly is consciousness and that there's just different, call it layers to this consciousness, right? And a lot of people identify themselves with their thoughts, right? They say like these thoughts are mine and they hold them as their identity. But I don't so much identify myself with the thoughts I have as much as the awareness of the thoughts, right? And this is oftentimes called the observer effect. And, like if I were to say right now, think of a color just hit your mind just because I had posed the question. what I see consciousness as is the awareness of that thought that arose in your mind, right? And so again, it's just the lattice that is holding all of this in order, right? And again, there's different layers to it. There's even, primitive forms of consciousness where even a rock is conscious. The distinction is awareness, right? And so just because something cannot manipulate its environment around it does not mean it's not conscious. It just perhaps is not aware of its consciousness, right? And so, like this book here, it just made a noise. You can see its colors. This is actually an oracle deck. It's responding to me, right? I am interacting with it and I can see it. I'm touching it and I can hear it. I can sniff it. I can lick it and taste it. All of those are primitive forms of response. Therefore, it's this deck of cards saying, here I am, right? And that in itself is again another form, another layer of consciousness. So yeah, it's the fabric that is constructing this whole beautiful experience as it is.
How would somebody raise their consciousness and their awareness?
Yeah, so it really is, it's about going outward. But here's the paradox of it. The only way to go out is to go in. And that's because this whole universe is one thing, right? That's why the word is universe, right? Sometimes I feel it goes over people's heads. Uni means one. It's one verse. It's one thing, right? And it's not even really a thing. It's just one big event, right? It's an event full of events. It's a verb full of verbs. I think it was Alan Watts, the beautiful Alan Watts, that said the universe existence is a happening full of happenings, right? Like you are an event, you are a happening as a happening, and it just goes on forever. Everything is its own little event within the greater event. So the more you go inward, you sit with yourself, you face yourself, you're vulnerable with yourself, you begin to see parts of you in everything around you, right? And so that's why, like, the beautiful, simple way to say it is the only way out is in, right? So many people feel like they are in a situation in life, in this world, that feels inescapable, feels like they were put into this by something else out of themselves and then they can't escape. And that journey of sovereignty, of the freedom to be able to grow and transform, again, really begins with going inward and discovering yourself. Because when you discover yourself, you discover the universe, right? And so when you seek God, you'll find yourself. But when you seek yourself, you find God. And that's just the beauty of this whole universe.
When you just said uni is one and universe, it's all one, I had such a peaceful feeling that just washed over my body right now because I've never
Mm.
heard it put in that way because we all think that, I'm this little part of everything. And it's so hard to wrap your mind around that. And it makes it so complicated. But when you realize that you are all one, wow, I just felt such peace. And I know that people that are watching this are like, whoa, that was really cool. So that was,
Yeah, I love that you said it feels so complex too, because I love to say the universe is about simplicity appearing as complex as possible. And I use the example of a game of chess, right? It can be so easy to just like hover over the board and be like, oh my gosh, there's so many pieces that can move in so many ways and trying to think ahead and this and that. And it feels so complex. But as soon as you step back from the board a little bit, you realize it's just black and white. It's just black and white. What seemed like infinite possibilities just turned into duality, right? Positive and negative, or black and white. And guess what? You can take another step back from the board, and then you see, yeah, what began as infinite possibilities, what then zoomed out appeared to be duality, black and white. If I zoom out a little more, I realize it's just one board. It's all just one board. That as you zoom in, it's just what feels so complex actually is really very simple, right? Everything is one. We're just all here to experience that one thing from our unique perspective.
and I hope people hear this because as humans, we make things so complicated. Like I just said, just so freaking complicated. And when you can shift your mindset to that, as we are all just one, and take a more look further away, everything
Yeah.
just gets so much easier. and just so much more clear. And that's what I
Yeah.
feel from listening to you and you describing that. So I love that.
The cool thing is too is the more you understand that this is all just one happening, the cool truth is that if you understand anything absolutely, if you understand everything or anything through and through, you then therefore understand everything. So if you were to just study your finger and you knew your finger, absolutely everything there was to know about your finger, you then can apply that to all systems at all scales. You then understand everything because again, everything is all a part of one happening.
Okay, so when did your TikTok journey start? When did you start going on social media and getting a voice? Tell us about that journey from 0 followers to what are you at 60,000 right now, something like that?
Um, yeah, I actually just hit 70,000 yesterday. Yeah, I know. Woo! All thanks to the people that within this big, beautiful world choose to give their time and attention to me. I appreciate it so much. But the story of that, I almost want to go back to 2020, right? And we all know what happened in 2020. And there was so much division. Not that we're rid of that division, we still find it in ways, but at 2020 we were just so divided, and I found myself going on social media and getting trapped, right? And I say trapped very deliberately because I was getting trapped in these ideas and concepts and trapped in an identity that I felt was given to me rather than chosen by me. Right. And so I found myself getting into arguments with family and friends over nonsensical things that I really didn't even believe in. I was basically just chanting and shouting the words of other people. And through time, I woke up to the fact that I was one, arguing nonsense, and two, I was arguing with people that I cared about. Right. And so I kind of just jumped off of all social media. I said, you know what? I don't need this. I'm going to focus on, my orbit, my world that is around me, close to me, and everything started to change, right? That was really one of the first examples to me in this journey that what you give your attention to will grow. And when you give your attention to things that make you feel down, that feeling will grow and more things will arise within your orbit that will make you feel down, right? And so I started to really focus in my attention on things that were positive around me. My transformation, my health, my awareness, my ability to create value for the world. And things changed really quick. And I no longer was hurting these relationships that meant something to me. And so through time, I found myself, I actually created my own golf instruction business. I'm technically still a golf instructor. I still take lessons or give lessons, I should say. But so I started a social media for that, and it was a way for me to start kind of dipping my foot back in the water and feeling it out, seeing how it feels for me. And through time, my, as we call it, awakening journey truly hit warp speed. And so I created a TikTok page, and it was a healing journey for me. The concept was a space for me to share myself authentically, to just be fearless, right? When you present something to the whole world, you will be exposed to the possibility of judgment, right? And I wanted to intentionally expose myself to that judgment to test my own peace within, to train myself, reprogram myself in being fortified within and impenetrable to the judgment of others. And so in that, it
And real
began to grow into
quick,
something
Jake,
beautiful.
so many,
Go ahead.
so many people are afraid of doing that to go
Absolutely.
within. Like they're so afraid of changing what's familiar to them, even if it's the worst life that you could possibly have. And it's like, how do we get
Yep.
people to not be afraid of that change?
Yeah. I tell people all the time to start posting on social media. One of the revelations I've had was that that's exactly what social media is for. It's not for someone to be an influencer and to be like, oh, look at me. It's for everybody to share themselves authentically, to be vulnerable, to, again, to have a fortification of their own internal peace. And people will always tell me, I don't want to be a content creator or a influencer. I don't want to be an influencer. I don't want to be famous. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose is to create an environment for where you can test yourself against the judgment of others. And if if we don't have those tests, then how can we expect to really show up and grow in the ways that we would like to grow? Again, my journey on TikTok was, and all social media, was to heal myself. And to this day, that hasn't changed. Every single video I post is not with the intention of doing something for others as much as it is doing something for myself. Because an understanding I now have is I'm only of service to others through the act of service to myself, right? So every video I make, I'm speaking to myself. I'm saying what I need to hear from myself. And I know that what I need to hear, other people need to hear. And what I articulate from my thoughts is how other people want their thoughts articulated, right? And so only through speaking as myself am I able to speak to others, right? And that's really where this journey has always started from and will always continue to be because yeah, that's why it has the following it has now is people feel seen and heard and felt and that someone's expressing, what they think and it's because we truly share that, right? I'm not saying what I think people want to hear or want to say. I'm saying what I want to hear, what I want to say, and I know with certainty that other people resonate with.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly because I've come to that realization. I mean, when I first started posting a couple years ago, I definitely was maybe doing it for others to add value. But just in the last 6 months, I'm like, bro, you're taking your own medicine, right? Like this is your
Hmm.
own medicine that you're giving yourself that's helped supporting you be the best version of who you can be. And that's a great example for other people if they so choose to want to follow that model.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And part of the thing is too is people hear that and they think that that's negative, right? Like, no, you should be doing it for other people. And it's not to say I don't want to help other people, of course, but I just now have a deep understanding of that really the only way I can help other people without draining my own internal peace, my own energy, is by doing it through the service of myself, right? I always use the example of like if you were walking down the street and you see a homeless person on the side of the road and you give them $20. I'm giving them $20 because it makes me feel good. It's not like I'm ignorant of the fact that it also makes them feel good, but I'm doing it because it makes me feel good. And the beauty of that is it makes us both feel good because of it. If it made me feel bad to do it, I wouldn't do it because then I'm no longer of service to those around me, or to myself. I used to even say it as a kid. I had this funny thought when I was probably around 8 or 10 years old or so, and I would say, what people call selfish, I think can be a little more beneficial than people want to admit. I'd always say, if everyone just took care of themselves, well, then we're all taken care of. It's a very simple way of putting it. And of course, it can be a little more complex than that at certain times. There's many dynamics going on, but it really kind of does come down to that. When everyone takes care of themselves, when everyone takes accountability for their life, you then become the owner and author of it. And only then do you get to actually write how the story goes.
Well, when you truly work on yourself and pour intentional love and gratitude into your life, you fill your cup all the way to the top. You have the energy that you need and you become selfless because then you
Oh,
can
yes.
pour everything you are into other people that you love and care about and preserve your energy, like you were just saying. And so many people, they
Absolutely.
just don't understand that because they're like, oh, you're selfish, you're a narcissist, you're this, you're that. No, the people you are familiar with are that. That's not me, right? That's not me.
Yep.
I take care of myself so that I can be the best, most authentic version for every single person that I love, like my dad or my son or my daughter or my friends at church or someone that I meet that's needs some help that's at the grocery store, whatever it might be. It's a total selfless thing to pour that
Yeah.
intentional love into yourself.
100%.
Let's talk about magnetism and what
Hmm.
that means to you and this amazing book that you're bringing to the world. Let's go. Let's talk about that.
Yes. So consciousness, again, as we kind of touched on earlier, everything is consciousness and everything is manifestations of that consciousness. And magnetism is the binding force that allows for anything to be in form, right? If we don't have what we call gravity and magnetism, nothing can actually be in form. The reason that everything is in order is because of what we call gravity and magnetism. I like to define gravity and magnetism as love, right? An atom binds with another atom to create a molecule through love. And through that, here is everything. Right. And so what I have, the revelation I've had within my journey is realizing that consciousness literally creates a magnetic and gravitational force. Right. We are biomagnetic vessels. This body is emitting an electrical current that is interacting with the fields around me. And so that's the power of our mind that people go through this life not understanding, is that your consciousness, your perception of this reality is literally creating a gravitational force that is pulling in a life that reflects your identity you hold within. And that exact revelation is what drew me to write the book Magnetic that I just recently published. And it's about the gravity of identity. It's the hidden force of consciousness. People think that your identity is given to you, right? And it's easy to think that because we're told what our name is. We're told who we are. Every stage of our development, we're told who and what we are, what we're capable of, this and that and the other. And so people go through life thinking that they don't have the ability to choose what they are. They allow others to define their life. But through my discoveries, I've began to understand we are sovereign beings that are free to choose whatever we'd like to be. And it's exactly that identity that we claim that then causes the process of constructing reality, right? So it's what I like to call a reality feedback loop, and I talk about this in the book. What you identify as will evoke a certain interpretation of any given situation, right? And because of those particular interpretations, they will then evoke certain emotions. Because of those certain emotions, they then evoke certain behaviors, which then will reinforce that identity. And this is a loop. It's a cycle that persists forever and always. Everything moment that we have experienced has been a part of one of these reality feedback loops. And these loops can spiral downward or upward, right? It depends on the identity you are claiming. And it's because the universe doesn't just give you what you want. The universe gives you what you are, projecting to the universe. And that's the sovereignty of us. This is what people misunderstand is that we are free to choose to suffer if we so choose to. Right. And so this is the importance of not allowing the world around us to define you or tell you what you are. And to make your claim, to declare what you are and move in that declaration with certainty to then create the feedback loop that draws in through magnetism, through literal gravity, the reality that reflects that identity. So I can give an example. A person that tells themselves, I was born in a poor family, so I always struggle with money. So I have to work so hard, I have to spend so much time to earn a dollar, right? This is a person that identifies as someone who lacks. Because of that, that then evokes certain interpretations. They go to apply at a job that feels above their, I don't want to say capability, but feels above them, right? And the whole process feels like friction because they're already claiming an identity that does not align with that job. So because of this, when it takes a couple days for this potential employer to reach back out, they say, well, oh, they're not even thinking about, they've already thrown my resume away. They're on to the next person. It's done. It's done. And those interpretations then evoke an emotion, right? And this emotion would be aggravation, stagnation, right? And a hesitation to you reach out to the employer, a refusal to get up and create action that creates a change. And these emotions then evoke behaviors, again, like stagnation, refusal to make the change. And this will further reinforce and be used as the proof that validates this identity. So now this person that identifies as someone who lacks money will then say, well, look it, I applied at this job and look what happened. There is my proof as to why I identify as someone who lacks, right? And the cycle repeats. And that is the downward spiraling loop that causes people to live a life that feels like it's not theirs, that feels like a life that they don't want to live, right? And it's just because they're not understanding that the world outside of you does not create the world inside you. The world inside you is what creates the world around you, right? And so it's that simple feedback loop that alters everything. And we can also think of the upward spiraling loop, right? Someone that in their mind, before they can hold it
Can we wait
tangibly,
for a
go
sec
ahead.
on that? So, besides working with me, and I know what I do, and I can help people break that feedback loop, how would you recommend someone could break that feedback loop? And is that something you cover in your book?
Yes. Yes. Step one is awareness. It's 100% awareness. You need to be absolutely vulnerable and honest with yourself to be aware of your behaviors. And I actually, I don't have it next to me here, but I actually created a guided journal for exactly that. It's called the Awakening Journal, and it's a 90-day journal where you become aware of your behaviors. You become aware of the current identity that you are projecting to the world. Because, like, if you have a leaky roof, and every time it rains, the water pours down and you just mop it up and put a bucket, you haven't actually fixed the problem. You need to be aware of what the problem really is, right? And so it's the same premise applied here that we first need to identify the identity that you currently are projecting to the world to then even be able to make a declaration of the identity you do want to project to the world.
Let's talk about that up spiral because I know everybody wants to hear about that.
Yes, Delulu is the Salulu. That's the fun phrase that a lot of people seem to resonate with, and I can't lie, I resonate with it too. You must be what many people consider delusional. You must be what many people consider delusional. You need to have, yeah, you need to be it to see it, right? I like to say you can't hold something until you have it, right? So you need to have it in your mind. You need to have it in your heart before you can have it in your hands. And it sounds delusional, right? And this is because there are so many people that are operating within their life that is a contradiction to how reality truly functions. And so, therefore, many people claim it to be delusional. But the truth is, everything around you is created from your internal state, from your internal dialogue, your internal identity. And so the upward spiral is the person that, regardless of their upbringing, they say, I live an abundant life. I have abundant resources. Say they're homeless. Say they're homeless even. And they are telling themselves, I live an abundant life. I'm always taken care of. Everything that I need to pay for is always paid for on time. All the resources I ever need, I have easily, effortlessly. This then evokes an interpretation of situations that again contrasts the person of the inverse identity, right? They then see a rejection, not as rejection, but as an opportunity to truly step into a moment that is more aligned, right? Everything is then an opportunity instead of a hindrance to the journey, which then evokes, self-empowerment and the willingness to be open to different possibilities, which then evokes the behaviors of taking action, right? Of doing instead of just deciding to be stagnant, right? And so again, that's the upward spiral. And then that then is the proof used to then further reinforce. And that just continuously refines until one day you wake up and you go, I'm on a podcast with Coach Cary and I'm writing books and I'm helping people and they're just like, how did I get here?
Yeah, I'm experiencing that same journey right now. Like it's been truly amazing. And like I said, you've helped me too to realize that abundance, which most people think that abundance is really just a financial thing. Like I have all this money and no, abundance is your health, your spirituality, your mental and physical health, I should say. And money could be a very
Absolutely.
much a component of it. But if you have everything that you need for today, aren't you truly abundant? Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, if you have everything that you need for today, you are truly abundant.
Yeah, I love to think of abundance as it's the ability to do what you want, where you want, how you want, when you want. It's true sovereignty. That is abundance, right? And like you said, finances, sure, can be a part of that, but they also don't have to be. It's just about being able to do exactly what you want, when you want.
Yeah, and I want to take that just as my something I want to share with everybody. And it makes me a little bit vulnerable to do this, but I pivoted away from a furniture store that I owned for many, many years, over a couple of decades. And I'm so glad I don't have that business right anymore. I really enjoyed it. But I was telling my son yesterday that I am so abundant. I'm living the best life that I ever have. And I am so abundant every single shape, way, and form. And I love my life. I absolutely love my
Mm,
life. And the vulnerable component for me is that my furniture store was a financial drain and it created a lot of
mm,
serious issues that I'm still get to show up to. And so if you looked at my
yeah,
bank account, you'd be like, what the heck is this guy doing? Right. If you just looked at my bank account, but that's not what defines me. Right. And I truly get to do what I want, when I want, wherever I want, and how I want. And it is so freeing. And I feel the best I've ever felt in my whole life. And I have the least amount of money
yeah.
that I've had in my whole life.
That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. Here it is a thing I like to think about money too. And I think a lot of people will really benefit from this. And I want them to listen very closely here. If you are someone who says time is money, you will chase a dollar until your time runs out. Time is not money for me. Time is a fleeting thing. My time here on earth is fleeting. Therefore, my finances would then be fleeting. I don't treat each dollar as to equate to a certain amount of time. I use my creativity to have financial stability, freedom, however you want to say it. Because my creativity is infinite. My creativity is never ending. Therefore, when I use my creativity to earn an income, we can say, I can trust that the flow is infinite because not, my creativity will never stop. And if people can really sit with that truth and understand it and apply it, not only would our world look a lot more colorful, but a lot more people would have the stability in earning an income happily because they're doing something that they truly enjoy. People think they can go through they can't go through this life doing something they enjoy and earn from it. It's just not true. The question is, have you tried?
Well, yeah. And, I don't know what the statistic is now, but it used to be like 80 or 90% of people did not like what they do. And that's most of society. Are you
Absolutely.
kidding me? That just, it's so hard to comprehend that, but it's so normal that those are the choices that people make.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite part of your book, your favorite chapter, your favorite topic? Just something to share with us. Give us another nibble.
Yeah, so I really did cover it on when we were talking about feedback loops. That really is I don't want to say the most important part of the book. The entire book is a cohesive piece, right? It starts with an intro. It's effectively saying, here's the one thing you absolutely need to know, once you finish the book and put it down. And that intro then leads into a chapter called embodiment, which is the core skill. The more we understand what embodiment is, the easier it is to embody, right? That's just kind of how awareness works with anything. The more aware of something, the more capable at it we are. And so I think a lot of people don't fully understand what embodiment truly is. And again, I hope I'm not sounding repetitive here, but it's about being it internally before you see the validation in your external world. And that is embodiment. So, one of my favorite sayings to remind myself or remind others is don't be a tugboat, be a lighthouse. A lot of times we try and hug people along into whatever it is, whether we're doing something within our career or something in personal relationships or something with our creativity. At times we try to like cast the fishing line and like hook people and kind of pull them along, expending our own energy. But in truth, embodiment is about being a lighthouse, right? It's not being a tugboat. It's being the lighthouse, being like, here I am, right? It's being the version of you that has these things that you desire in your life before you see the external validation of it. And sometimes the validation pops right before your eyes. It pops right up and you go, "Oh my goodness, I cannot believe here it is. I declared this as something that is rightfully mine based on the identity I've claimed, and here it is." And other times it unfolds through time. Other times it has to build, and brick by brick, you start to see what is your universal validation to reveal itself to you, right? And so it's really those two chapters of the feedback loops and the embodiment that I think people has the potential to really blow people's minds because I think that there's a lot of misunderstood aspects of those two things. The rest of the book then talks upon creativity and purpose, right? And how your authentic expression and your willingness to express that authentic expression is what allows your creativity to flow. And in that creative flow is where your purpose will naturally arise, right? People think that you need to chase after your purpose. You need to discover it, right? Like you need to dig and dig and dig, try and find your purpose. But your purpose finds you, right? Through time, through life experience, it reveals itself to you. But what you absolutely have to do is to express yourself authentically, be vulnerable, and allow yourself to express yourself. The other two chapters are relationships and money and opportunities, right? And again, we kind of touched on this before, talking about reality feedback loops, but people need to understand the opportunities that you get in life are not given to you. They're called in to you, right? Again, all focused on what you identify yourself to be. If you say someone that, if you declare yourself as someone that doesn't get good opportunities, the universe says, okay, you said it, not me. And the universe reflects the reality that aligns with that identity.
Yeah. And too often people are like, I don't know my purpose. Like you're saying, I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to discover it. But what are they doing as far as forward action, right? So if you want to discover that purpose which is inside of you, make yourself a science experiment. Do things that you've never done before, you know? But if you're just sitting there and you're expecting something to happen for you, it's most likely not going to happen. It has to be that
Absolutely.
momentum and creating opportunities and just being like, I've never done this before. I'm going to try it. And what am I going to learn about myself? And that way you
Yeah.
can uncover that special seed. And
Yep.
you teach people how to do this, right? You coach them if they want to work with you. Is that true?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And primarily it's through so my TikTok, my social media started as a place where I shared what I called absolute truth, right? And so oftentimes what is most beneficial to people is just having a deeper understanding of what's actually true, right? And so I can only speak for myself. The more truth I understood, the easier this all became. I shouldn't say easy, the more effortless this journey became. There's a difference between effort, like effortlessness, and easy. It's hard at times, but just because it's hard doesn't mean it has to take so much effort, right? And I know that might not click with some people, but through the journey of self-healing, it'll make more sense.
I know from being on your TikTok lives, and I've experienced this myself. Sometimes there's people that come into the room that are maybe Islamists, Judaïsts, Christians, and other religions. And they like to come in and tell us, you are wrong and you don't know what you're talking about. How do you
Yep.
address those people, treat them with kindness, respect, but still it's your room. It's for, this is your space. How do you respond to those people?
I I always allow people to come in and express themselves authentically, right? Even if it's casting hate, because I eat up hate. Scrumptious. I eat it up and I spit out more love, right? So I welcome anybody to come in and express whatever they'd like. And it's because I'm no longer reacting to the world around me, right? When we're acting out of ego and we're acting in inauthentic ways, we're actually reacting to the fear that's in our mind, right? Our mind filters what we want to do and gives us actions that we should do based on what our ego is trying to preserve, right? And so because of that, we react to the world around us, right? Everyone's heard the people say like, I had no option. I had to say this or I had to do that. I had to. But the truth is you don't have to. You truly have the ability to be present and to act rather than react. And so I have, through this journey, I've gotten myself to the point where I don't have to react. A big part of it too is understanding that everyone's able to choose the reality they live in. I say this all the time. You can't give people the truth. Again, going back to being a lighthouse, not a tugboat. I've tried to be the tugboat. I still kind of try to be the tugboat sometimes. And I constantly have to remind myself it's nothing but an expenditure of my own energy, my own peace, right? I can't give this away to anyone. I can just sit and shine and say, look at me. If you want to shine, here's my story, right? And if you don't, that that's literally your choice to make. That's your free will that you have to choose to experience whatever you want to experience. At times I'll kind of discern and I'll feel out, is my time and attention, I don't want to say necessary. Is it beneficial in this scenario? And at times I will express, these things to these people. Again, of nothing but love, but to say, here's my truth. Do with that information as you will. And other times, sometimes the best way to love someone is to have some space, right? This whole journey is about unconditional love. You don't need to believe, you don't need to know what I know for me to love you. You don't have to earn my love. It's not transactional. It's unconditional. But at times, the most unconditional way you can love someone is by having some boundaries, right? And where people get torn up, I think, is they almost think of boundaries as barriers. But boundaries are just a protection of your own internal peace. And what's very important is to protect your peace no matter what, no matter who.
If anyone is considering going on TikTok, going on YouTube, starting to put out content, you need to rewind and listen to what he just said, because that will give you so much self value and so much self worth, and realize that what you're saying is important and no one needs to dim your light, right? We don't let people dim our light, because this is for you to express. So I want that to be an inspiration and support for people for what Jake just said. I mean, rewind it, listen to that again. That will really help inspire, I think, a lot of people. Let's jump in.
Say what you want to say because someone out there needs to hear it. That's why you want to say it.
And that leads into being our true authentic self. How important is being your true authentic self? And how are people able to uncover some of that in their life or practice something that can help them become their true authentic self?
It's everything. I have some favorite words, and authenticity and vulnerability are definitely some of those two favorite words. And it's because if you can just at any given moment remind yourself of those two words, it again, this is where you find the ability to you find this experience of effortlessness of just being you. Right? We go through so much life thinking, well, what should I say? How should I say it? And who should I say it to? And how should I act? And this and that. And all the questions we're always asking ourselves of how we should show up to the world. Forget them all. Forget them all. Take the script, take a lighter, and burn it up. Burn up the script. Just let it flow. Any thinking is overthinking. Quit speaking with your mind and start speaking with your heart. Allow your heart to open up. Allow your authentic self to express itself. People don't respond to information. They respond to truth that they feel, and nothing can express that truth like your heart. So stop thinking. Stop thinking so much.
I've found that a lot of people, I mean, a majority of people are just so stuck in their head with their thoughts. And they're like, okay, here you're saying I need to stop thinking and I need to open my heart, but I don't know how to open my heart. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, just do something nice for yourself, right? Go for a walk,
Absolutely.
eat one less cookie today, clean up the mess in the
Yeah.
corner, make your bed, do something kind for
Yeah.
yourself and practice that every single day. And you can open your heart, and you can't be in your heart and your head at the same time, right?
Yep.
It's not possible. So if
Absolutely.
you want to practice opening your heart, that is one way. And that's what I love to do to help people. How would you recommend they open their heart?
One of my favorite ways to recommend to people that I work with is, so we've all heard, like, the inner child and the healing of the inner child that we all have. Because the truth is, I, as a child, and speaking to a child right now, that child didn't go anywhere. It's just turned into present day Cary. It's just turned into present day Jake, right? That child didn't go anywhere. And so I like to task people to write out a list. What are, say, even just three things that you used to absolutely adore as a child that you at some point in your life said, well, I can't do this anymore because I am an adult. Well, I can't do this anymore because my girlfriend in high school will judge me, because my parents will judge me, because my friend group will judge me. because my coworker will judge me. So I task people to identify these things that deep down they want to do so bad, but they fear the judgment of others, so they don't. And so that is what I task people to do, and I send them to do it. To again wander and wonder within these things that intrigue them, this passion. Follow your joy and your passion. Follow your joy and your passion. Here are your signals: joy and fear. Whatever you feel joy in doing, in passion, step into it. Step into it. Whatever you feel afraid of, step into it. And behind those two doors, you will find all the transformation that you've been waiting for, all the transformation you've been asking for, begging, per se, the universe for. It's just been waiting for you to show up and open the door, to step through it.
Yes, you get to show up and you get to do the beautiful parts of your life and the challenging parts. And if you practice
Absolutely.
authenticity and love, and I take it a little further than three things, but that's for another time. But Jake's 100% right. If you want to get out of your head and open your heart, do three things every day for yourself to raise your frequency, raise your energy so you get to run towards the joy and you get to run towards the challenges. Because everybody loves to say, it's so
Absolutely.
hard, it's so hard, it's so hard. And I'm like, I know it's hard. Everything we want is through that challenge, and we have to fall in love with hard stuff.
Yeah. You know what the acorn would say? But right before it turns into a beautiful tree, the acorn would say, "It's so hard." Yeah, it's called growth. It's called transformation. You know what? It's easy saying it's hard. It's easy saying it's hard.
Yeah. So, Jake, we talked a little bit about creation off the podcast here, and I would love to know a little bit about what you think about creation and your 1 to 5 year plan, kind of what that looks like, where you're going to go in the next few years. I know that's a couple of things, but let's touch on that a little bit.
Creation is everything to me. In this journey, I really turned, I guess I could say I turned a corner. I used to be a consumer of all sorts. I used to consume things constantly, whether it be even just food or media or whatever it is. I constantly would consume and consume and consume. And I've always liked to create, but it kind of would just like happen on the side. I'd be like, oh, I'll get to that sometime and I'll keep creating that. And through this journey, I discovered the power of creating infinitely, nonstop. Again, allowing the authentic expression to flow effortlessly. And because of that, I've made books of poetry. I've made, I just released the book Magnetic we were talking about. I've made journals. I've written music. I've done painting. I've made wooden spoons. I have made my own clothing line that I'm wearing today. I am constantly creating what I feel interested in and passionate about. And I'm creating it in a way that I like it. Because if I like it, I know others will like it. And so creation's everything to me. And I am always ensuring that I am creating more than I'm consuming, right? Because I wasn't born to be a consumer. I was born to be a creator. And so because of that, it really means everything to me. And I mean, it can even be as much as creating memories through connections with people or creating community or possibilities, all sorts of different things. Everything is a creation. So anything you can think of, you can create it, right? Now, I know for me, my creation in the foreseeable future, say the next 3 to 5 years, is continuing to create more books, continuing to grow my social media presence and reach that I have so that more people can experience these truths that I'm embodying and see how they too can live a life that they desire, that truly feels like it's theirs, that they are proud to claim. And yeah, just continuing to build the community. I also plan to be having in-person retreats in the not far future because connection via the internet is beautiful. It's amazing. But connection face to face, having that physical touch, even of just shaking a hand or a hug, having the presence of holding someone else's gaze right before you is undeniable, the power of it and just the community aspect. So that I am definitely looking forward to as well as becoming a speaker really of sorts, and allowing my story and my message to trickle its way through the entire world to really just spread the positivity that the truth is waiting for us to all recognize.
Is this something that you really want to do full time and stop doing the golf thing? And like, this is what you want to do for your
Absolutely.
life, right? You have
Absolutely.
done such a great job of creating this community on TikTok that I have a little bit of advice for you. And it's something that I'm learning right now. The school community, I don't know if you've looked into that before, but
SKOO.
yes, it's a very powerful platform. I just signed up for it a week ago. I'm building my community over there. I think that you should really look into that. I think it could be something that would give you some reoccurring subscription money so that you're adding value for people. And then, of course, you are so valuable that this can be what you do for a living. And that has the ability to basically pay all your bills. So your stuff's taken care of. And then you just really do have that freedom to do whatever the you want. You know what I mean? But I feel like you
Yeah,
should definitely look into that. And I'll share the affiliate link with you. So if you are considering it, then I would make a little bit of money. But
definitely.
but I
Yeah,
think
absolutely. I've been getting the ads for it a lot recently. So this is the final sign and message from the universe that I'm like, okay, you know what? It's time to do it.
yeah, no, I fully think that you should do that. All right, we are going to end this podcast with if you could just speak to one person that is just they don't want to be here anymore. They feel like they're completely stuck. They can't see the light. They're in that victimhood state. How can we collectively lift them up and get them out of that space?
What I often tell people is you aren't tired of being you. It's you haven't actually been you yet, right? It's like you're not tired of your story. You just haven't actually lived your story. You're living the script of someone else. So it's time to burn that script up. And first, it really starts with stopping to focus on outcomes, right? That happiness in life isn't at a separate destination at a later date. It's right here, right now. It's waiting for you in the present moment. It's in the mundane, right? It's in doing the dishes. It's in just going for a walk. It's in a simple phone call with a friend. So beginning to again alter the interpretations of these situations to not see them as shortcomings or failures or challenges, but just more moments to truly grow, right? And to take ownership and then therefore authorship of how your story goes, right? And so focus on becoming the person that organically achieves everything you want to achieve, right? That's again, nothing outside of you can make you happy. There is no car, no house, no partner, no job that can make you happy. Happiness is the way, right? There is no way to be happy. Happiness is the way. It's practice. It takes life experience to truly live this. But progress isn't always visible, but you must persist that it's always happening, right? Even when you sit in absolute stillness, absolute silence, there is motion all around you. The universe is always working in your favor in perfect time. And the more you place your certainty that it's right behind you, waiting for you to stumble, to pick you back up and soar you to new heights you've never even thought possible, that's when you start to reveal the blessings that have always been surrounding you.
My wings are flapping right
Always.
now, bro.
Exactly.
I'm flying.
Exactly. You start to fly.
Where can people find your book? Can you give us some details for people that are just listening and aren't actually watching this on where they can find you, what your email is, your TikTok, that sort of thing? I'll put everything in the notes on the podcast so they can have all those links. But can you just plug those?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Daily Divine 01 on TikTok as well as Instagram. On Facebook, you'll find it at Daily Divine. Yeah, the book is available on Amazon. It is Magnetic, the gravity of identity. You'll also find it at my link tree. I have a link tree in my TikTok where you'll find all the books I've created. I've also published a four-part series of I've daily affirmations. I actually have those right here. It's called A Little Something to Remind You. And so this is just like a beautiful series of books of just daily affirmations that you can affirm your highest state of being with, as well as my book of poetry that you'll find on my link tree. It's where you'll find my clothing line. And yeah, you can also go to dailydivine.co, and there is abundant wealth of information on that website, all pertaining to mind, body, and spirit, and the link of the three, how they function, and how you can use them and that awareness to better your life, to become the version of you you would desire to be. And that's where you can really find everything that I create. So go check out dailydivine.co, dailydivine01 on TikTok, Instagram, Daily Divine on Facebook, and yeah, you can book me for one-on-one sessions. You can sign up for my monthly or annual mentorship plan. I look forward to chatting with everybody, to getting to it.
Jake, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time. You've inspired me. And I swear, every time that we talk, whether I'm on your live or we have a phone call, I always learn something. And I really hope that everybody else has received the information that you've been putting together because it is so valuable. It's so valuable. And I want to leave it with this. Would you please share with us one of your favorite poems that you wrote?
What's cool about the book of poetry is this is written in chronological order. So as you read them is as the poems were written, and I wrote this book of poetry when I was waking. So it's cool to really get my full experience. Here it is. This poem is called The Tree. Me, myself, and I. Me, a leaf. Myself, a branch. I, the tree.
Jake, thank you so much. This is episode 5 of Finding Your Higher Consciousness podcast. I'm your host, Coach Cary. I'm so grateful that you guys spent some time with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Cary.
All right, bro, we're done.